Middle. All right, we will go into our post-qualifying press conference for the 59th Annual Bank of America Roval 400. We are joined by A.J. Allmendinger, driver of the number 47 Kroger ClickList Chevrolet. Be starting on the front row today. A.J., can you just take us through that qualifying effort and what happened out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy racetrack for sure. To me, it's like my Champ Car days. It's a street course in the infield there, and walls are on both sides. You make a small mistake, and as we've seen, you're going to pay the price for it. So to me, it makes it a lot of fun because you gotta be on point. You gotta be aggressive, but you can't be over aggressive. I could nitpick my both my laps and say there's a lot more out there, but easily try to get that and you find yourself in the wall. So more than anything, I'm really happy from where we were in practice. We were struggling. Car wasn't very good, and Trent Owens and all the boys kind of went to work and talked about it and came up with a good plan for qualifying, and hopefully that leads us in a better direction for our race setup tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll open up for questions. Please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start with Brendan. We'll go Kenny, Jacob.
Hey, AJ, Brendan Marks from the Charlotte Observer. Congratulations, first of all. We've had a couple of drivers in here today, and they've all talked about different aspects of the track as being the most challenging. Some people will say it's 6, 7, 8. Some people say it's that backstretch chicane. Some people say it's turn 1. To you, which part stands out as the most treacherous, if you could call it?
As soon as you pull out of the garage area and get on the racetrack, pretty much right there it all begins. So, to me, it's all of it. Like, there's not one place that stands out because all around the racetrack, you can really get yourself in a lot of trouble. Really the only place is kind of 15, 16, and 17. You can easily overshoot there, and I think it's a drive-through if you do that. So, but that's the only place where there's not a lot of stuff to hit. Everywhere else, you can make a mistake. The bus stop is on the back straightaway. There's pretty gnarly. I think in race conditions, it's going to be really gnarly because whether it's turbulent air or if you find yourself side-by-side going in there and who gives. So, that's going to be a difficult challenge, and I think it's going to be a challenge for NASCAR to make the right call if somebody gets shoved and has to shortcut it. But to me, it's all challenging. You can get in trouble any part of the racetrack, and to me, that's what makes it fun. You got to go out there and be on your A game kind of every corner because you can pay a big price for it.
Kenny Bruce, right here, second row.
Kenny Bruce, KennyBruce.net. AJ. We always hear about on ovals that there's a pretty big difference between qualifying setup and race setup, a lot of different things they do. How much difference is it for qualifying setup and race setup for a course like this?
To me, it's not a lot. We kind of went into qualifying making changes with the mindset of race conditions as well. So, in qualifying on an oval makes it tough because you tape up and there's a lot of stuff that you do with nose weight and wedge and stuff like that. But here, it's pretty similar. Obviously, you tape up the nose and all the brake ducts and everything. So you get a little bit more downforce, which is where the speed comes from. But I think setup-wise, it's pretty similar.
Jacob Zielman, Speed Sport. AJ, you talked about this being like your Champ Car days. I know, obviously, there's nothing that compares between a Champ Car and a stock car, but does any of that experience, you feel like, give you any sort of an edge this weekend with that infield section?
I don't think it gives me an edge. Everybody in the top level here, they're here for a reason, and they're the best in the world. So, it's no secret. You see Kurt Busch, he runs up front on every road course, every oval that we go to. But, I think the one thing that, to me, it stands out is, like I said, I could nitpick the lap. I feel like I could have found a half second out there, but it's that small mistake that you make that if you do that, you're probably going to hit something, and I think we see a lot of it in practice, and it'll be interesting to see if in the race it all kind of backs up a little bit, but just knowing that there's a fine limit of pushing your car and getting the most out of it, and if you overstep that boundary, you just, like I say, you pay a big penalty, and that's in Champ Car. You learn that. You had to run on the ragged edge, but it's a big penalty. So hopefully I can have that mindset in the race and be smart. I think we're going to see two races. I think you're either going to see everybody get so cautious because of all the accidents in practice and people that are on the cutoff line for the playoffs, or we're race car drivers and we're not very smart and we just go out there and we get crazy and we tear up a lot of stuff. So either one could happen. I think it'd probably be the second, probably.
As far as the year, obviously, it's been a struggle for you guys, but did you kind of circle this weekend as a place where you guys could come and really right the ship and start to end the year on a bit of a high note?
I mean, road courses are my background. I think it evens the playing field a little bit, but, Kyle didn't have a great qualifying session, but, I mean, he's been one of the fastest 3 guys all year, and there's no shock that he'll probably be one of the fastest 3 guys during the race. So it evens the playing field a little bit, but, as a race team, we've been behind. It's why where we are in points, and I can close the gap a little bit with my background and just enjoying road course racing, but it's still going to be tough to win, and we just got to go out there and do our jobs. And, for me, if I do my best, that's all I can do. Whatever that result is, whether in victory lane on Sunday or not, that's all I can do.
I would come over here to Nate and then Jeff.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. AJ, all this happens, of course, on the day that your team announces your replacement for next year. Is it bittersweet, or are there mixed emotions for you on a day like this? And do you have any prospects for next year, or your plans for NASCAR in the future?
I mean, it's not bittersweet. I've been very fortunate in my life. They gave me an opportunity to get back into the sport full time. And, of course, you'd like it to end on a better note. And we didn't have the success that we wanted to. But no matter what, there's a banner that hangs in that shop. It's the only one that they have that says NASCAR Cup Series winner. And that can be never taken away. So we've had a lot of great times, made the playoffs. And, people change, organizations change, and it's part of the sport. It's a business. And, change can be scary sometimes, but it's not always a bad thing, and I think it can be a good thing on both ends. So is what it is. You know what? We go out there and win Sunday. We're still going to enjoy it as much as whether I had a full-time job with them or not. So that's all I can do is go out there and do my best. And, I have prospects next year. No, I mean, I'm just taking some time right now just to figure it all out, figure out what I want to do. It's been a couple of years, been tough. So take my time and figure it out. And, if there's a plan that God has for me to be in the sport next year, I'll be here. And if not, I'll figure something else out.
And just wanted to ask you, you compared this to a street course. I've heard that from a lot of drivers the last couple of days. If this is successful, could this be a blueprint for taking NASCAR to a street course in the future?
I mean, maybe to a certain degree. It's to me, what makes street courses fun is all about the venue. And, you go to a place like Long Beach, you go to a place like Toronto, Australia when I was in Champ Car was amazing because the people that maybe don't know about the sport can be up close and personal in whatever downtown city that we're in. So I think it has to be done right because these cars are obviously big race cars. If you take one of these to Long Beach, I don't think we make the hairpin. So you got to find the right place, but it can be. To me, what I think it makes this is going to be a lot of fun. It's different. It's just different. I think in our sport, we kind of sometimes get on the monotony of going to the same places, and this is different. And I think we see it with the crowd. I think Charlotte and the city of Charlotte Motor Speedway has done a fantastic job of promoting it. I mean, there's more promotion for this race than I've seen in one of the races around here in a long time. So, yeah, if it's successful, I think we can take it to a lot of places and bring it to new areas that don't have a NASCAR track.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. AJ, would it be possible to tortoise in the hair this race? Lay back, let everybody else crash. You're not going to get lapped probably because there's going to be so many cautions that if you just lay back and let everybody else go into it, you could get a top 10, top 15 out of it. I guess there's some guys in the playoffs where they just need to have a solid day. They don't need anything spectacular. Would that work, or is that stupid?
I mean, to finish top 15, I'm sure that would work. And like we talk about, I'm sure all you guys are, and it's going to be talked about on TV a lot. There's a lot of guys, not a lot, but there's guys that are maybe in that situation that need a decent, solid finish to make it to the next round. And there's going to be guys that are going to be desperate as well. So, you just got to go with your strategy. My strategy is to go out there and try to win. I got no job. It doesn't matter, right? I'm going out there trying to win. Lane in the back, you ain't going to win the race. Track position is going to be critical. strategy is going to be critical to stay up front. It's going to be hard to pass. But, yeah, for certain people, for certain teams and drivers, that's probably the right decision. But I got nothing to lose.
Zach Tanzwetti, kickingthetires.net. Justin Marks announced this was going to be his final weekend, a part of NASCAR. He'd be doing both races. You've known him for a long time. He's a fellow all-around type of racer. You've seen Catholic Light come into the sport. He kind of gave you that little push to come in here. When it came to your memories of him and racing him and getting to know him, I guess it's pretty emotional that he's a fellow all-around racer and he's going to be leaving the sport.
I mean, it's I wouldn't say it's emotional. I'm not tearing up over it. But it's just it's what about life. If if he's happy doing that, that's the right decision, then that's what he should do. You know, what's great about Justin Marks is, and anybody that's talked to him, one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. And he's going to talk to you and whether it's about sports or anything else, he's just enjoyable and such a nice person to be around. He's a great driver. He's a guy that I've always respected a lot because he's worked a lot on his craft. At first he wanted to do this full time, and then he wanted to kind of not do it at all, and he has other business adventures and then come back in part time. But more than anything, he's always worked on his craft hard to be as good as he is. So in the end, if he's happy with the decision, that's all that matters. No, there's plenty of young guys in line set up for rides, so it's just about marketing those guys right and letting people know who they are. And I'm not leaving. Like, you make it sound like I'm dying up here. Like, I just don't have a job right now. Like, I'm not going to – I hope not. I'm not going to die as soon as I step off this stage. I don't know, but that's not my plan, so I'm not leaving. You make me sound like I'm 65. Like, I'm sorry, Lewis. Just joking. No.
Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I have two. So is this a good road course? Like, you've run you've run tons of road courses. Like, is this a good one, or is it so different that
we got to see what the race looks like. If it's follow the leader and nothing ever happens, then maybe it's not what we want. But it's just different. Like, we've went to. How long we went to Watkins Glen and Sonoma? Like, how long has it been? 20, 30, it's probably been more than that, right? 30 years? Yeah, and before that was just Riverside? So it's just something different. That's what the sport needs. We need something unique. And I think it's gonna put on an interesting race. Now, is it gonna be side-by-side battling? I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow in the Xfinity race and Sunday in the Cup race, but it's different. I'm enjoying it. It's a different challenge for drivers, which if you're a pure race car driver, that's what you want. You want different challenges. So I think it can be a great racetrack.
And I'll ask if you're emotional, not over Justin Marks, but were you emotional when the decision was made that you wouldn't be back with JTG next year?
Yeah, I'm not going to – nobody likes losing their ride. But, the more time I sit and think about it and talk with it with my family and all that, I haven't been – it's been hard. Literally the year and a half. It hasn't been fun. We've struggled, and it's hard on everybody. And I can say this year I've probably been a different person at the racetrack and at home. So like I said, it's one of those things that change is scary, and the possibility of not having a paycheck come to you right away is a little bit scary. But change can also be a very good thing, and I think it will be.
We have a question up in the press box. Go ahead.
I was just curious how much you think strategy will come and play into Sunday's race. We see strategy be a factor at places like Sonoma, Watkins Glen, but with the unknowns of this racetrack, how much will strategy play effect, if any?
I think it's going to play a lot because it's just like in open wheel racing. You're on a street course. It's tough to pass. So the strategy of do you pit before and we got to see how long the tires last and how long fuel lasts for. But do you pit before the end of the stage and make sure you have the track position on the going into the next stage? There's going to be drivers that are in the playoff hunt that may have to take those stage points and sacrifice track position. So strategy is going to be a big part of this race on Sunday.
All right, we have two more down here. We'll go Jerry and then wrap up with Lewis.
Jerry Jordan.
No, not you.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. Never know you to be a guy who slacks off any at all. So with these starting next weekend, do you look at those next 7 races as, hey, I want to go out there and perform the best I can for JTG in my final races, and not that you need to build your resume any, but as a possible, for a future job somewhere else?
I mean, I always want to be at my best for whatever team I'm driving for me personally, for the sponsors, for my fans. I give everything I have. I mean, I think anybody that talks to me, you see it. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, whether it's good or bad, because I care. And that's what I've always wanted people that have ever worked with me, just to know that I care. I care about how hard they work. I appreciate the effort that's put into it. And so, no, it's not an audition for the next team. I mean, it's all about going out there and being at my best for myself, for the team, for my guys that work so hard, just to show I appreciate it. So the next, 6 races, it's no different than everyone that I've done my whole life.
I can't promise he's going to answer this question.
Yeah.
Lewis.
Now, he'll like it. It's a softball. Louis Franco Reuters. Today, many years ago, you were on a radio program in Monterey, California.
Oh, jeez.
And you were asked, no, this is softball. What would you like to do? And you said drive a Ferrari. Well, today, with a team with many, many millions of dollars less to spend, you outclassed them. They were 5th and 6th in Sochi. So how do you feel driving a small team?
I mean,
having
it's
such a good result.
It's no different than going out and winning Watkins Glen and any time you run up front. The big teams are the big teams. They're always going to be the big teams. It's our goal to go out there and beat them. So, I don't take any more pride in beating certain guys. There's 39 other drivers out there. So, at a place like this, I feel like I can make a difference and get the car further up front, and maybe that gets us a chance to win on Sunday. But that's all I can do. It's no different than what we fought for a long time. So, but everybody can say that. Just go out there and do our best.
All right. Thanks a lot for your time, AJ. Okay, we are now joined by Kurt Busch, driver of the number 41 Haas Automation Monster Energy Ford. He is the inaugural Bank of America Roval 400 Busch Pole Award winner, his 4th Busch Pole Award of the season. And Kurt, can you just open us up talking about that qualifying effort and your pole winning lap?
This is really special to win any inaugural race or pole, and to have this little trophy next to me means a lot. It brings me back to my past of when you go into a new event and you're a rookie, you have to execute with fundamentals and an open mind. And the way that our team on the 41 car approach this weekend was to make sure that we had all bases covered with, the front cambers, the rear shocks, the setup in general, and all those little things. But, behind the scenes, I spent over 2 days at the Ford simulator, working on the Roval, making sure my shift points were proper and braking zones. And when you have such good technology available to you, it's a matter of utilizing it. And I turned 40 this year, and here I am on the simulator acting like it's a video game, and you have to do those things. And I'm really happy that it panned out today. After our second qualifying run in practice, we were on the heavy loose side with the tires really, the rear tires are already struggling for rear grip. And so we made some adjustments, and that put us right on the bubble for the first round. But I was hoping that it would play out and that our setup would be optimum for round 2. And those are fundamental things that you do on short track type weekends where the grip level is low for second and third round qualifying. So really happy. Thanks to Billy Scott, everybody at Haas Automation, Monster Energy, Doug Yates, and Ford. It's really special to have an inaugural pole here at the Roval.
Thank you very much. We're going to open up for media questions. Raise your hand. Start with your name and affiliation. We're going to come up front here. We're going to start with Brendan again, please. And then we'll go back to Hill.
Hey, Kurt, Brendan Marks from the Charlotte Observer. Congratulations. There's obviously a number of challenging parts of this course, whether it's the infield or the backstretch chicane or turn 1, whatever. Which part did you find the most challenging and why?
My most challenging part of the Roval is the back straightaway chicane. There's a lot of speed to be gained and a lot of speed to be lost. And when we were here testing, the tire barrier didn't seem as close to the racing groove as it is now. And so the risk versus reward, it's a huge penalty when you scrape that tire barrier versus the speed you're going to gain. And so that's where I put most of my focus today. And I even talked to NASCAR about it. We could look to the inside of that tire barrier to create an escape hatch in case cars are all plugged up and you're still trying to move around that tire barrier. You could go far left and just kind of get away out of harm's way if there is trouble. So there's all these little things all the way around the racetrack. And today to sit on the pole, every corner felt slow. Every corner felt like I lost time. But I think that's part of the key is to not overdrive in the next corner trying to pick up time that you lost in the previous corner. I think that's an important fundamental aspect of going into a new style of track. And those are things that I take with me when I race different Indy cars, rally cars, drag racing, even like a Race of Champions. When you drive a variety of different cars, you try not to lose time when you're out there. You just try to maintain.
Hill
Overton, WIXC Radio. Kurt, congratulations, first of all, on the pole, but let's talk a little about setup. Now, you're running left, you're turning right, far different from just running an oval race where you're turning left all day. What's the philosophy at Stewart Haas about setting the car up? Do you try to set up more for left-handers than for right, or is there some kind of a neutral situation?
Yeah, we're definitely out of our element when we have this style of road course because at Sonoma we've got years and books and stacks of information. At Watkins Glen, we've got a ton of information, thumb drives, files, everything to help us. And so this weekend we came in with a 50-50 approach, the front 50, rear 50, left 50, right 50. Everything just has to be 50-50 and then go from there. And so we got aggressive on our qualifying setup, and it worked. I'm happy that it did, and that means we can now try to detune that setup and make the rear tires last for the full fuel run. That's going to be the toughest part once we settle into race trim is the rear tires. I mean, after lap 5 on a test session, they're already telling you, hey, we're tired. We have no more grip for you, and you got to get another 20 laps out of them.
I want to come over here to Jerry and then Jacob.
Jerry Jordan, kickingthetires.net and PRN. You kind of touched on the question I was going to ask a little bit. You talked about the different series and cars and things that you jumped into and done well. What does it say about you as a driver to be able to adapt quickly to a course? Because you've gone out and whether it be Indy, whether it be Race of Champions here, and excelled in that. And what is it about you that allows that?
When I first started racing, I had a little dwarf car, and when we started winning some races, the legend cars were getting hot. We had one of those. We had an IMCA modified, and on any given Saturday night, I would run 3 divisions in one night at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Bull Ring, and driving 3 cars, heat races, main events, all in one night. Those are the things that my dad was teaching me to adapt to, whether I knew what I was doing or not. And he did the same thing with my little brother, Kyle. It was drive anything at any time, be prepared. And my dad was way too serious. That's why Kyle and I are always so serious. But today I came in with the mindset of just have some fun with it and try not to slip too many tires. And you might come out on top. And the guy that I circled, AJ Allmendinger, I knew he'd be a tough guy to beat. So when you can predict who's going to be tough and you have a game plan, that's what led us to this pole for the Roval.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Kurt, off to your left back here. You've had a bunch of special moments with Stewart Haas Racing. Obviously, the 500 was big. Winning at Martinsville was big. Where does this pole, knowing that it's an inaugural event and the specialness of that, where does this rank in your moments with the 41 team?
It's a fantastic moment that will have a nice Stewart Haas banner hanging in the rafters. We put together banners for pole wins and race wins, and I'm happy to add to that legacy in the 10th year of Stewart Haas Racing. It could be a top 5 moment if we win on Sunday. Poles are special. They're not the end of the world, but when you come to something for the first time and conquer it quicker than anybody else, and it has inaugural written on it, I'll be moving maybe a trophy over off on the shelf and sliding this one in its spot because it's pretty special today.
Your name maybe isn't the first one that comes up when it comes to the road courses, but it seems like you've always been really sneaky good on these type of racetracks. What is it over the years that you feel like has made you such a good road course racer?
I just like to have fun with it. You know, early on when I was struggling at Watkins Glen, Penske put me in his Busch Series car and sat on pole and won the race. I'm like, all right, it's not me, it's not the track, it's more of the car and mastering the Monster Energy Cup car around the track. And that teaches you to look at front tire wear, rear tire wear, and not just burn through things. And you have to be good on long runs. So to get a pole today, it's special again, but you have to be a student and you have to apply braking zones, apexes, corner exits. Those are things you learn in road racing school. And then you have to learn how to drive these big, heavy stock cars that have half the tire and weigh way too much and have 800 horsepower.
Nate?
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Kurt, I believe I heard you compare this to like a street course, and I've heard some other drivers kind of make that comparison as well. Any places that in particular remind you of that you've raced before? And if it works well, could it be a blueprint for taking NASCAR to street courses in the future?
There's different aspects of the track that have a street course attitude, and it's mainly the exit of turn one, crossing over pit road, and then up a hill where there's a bunch of different asphalt seams, and it's really rough. And you have this funnel of concrete on both sides through turn two, and the exit of turn two, there's a concrete wall on your far right side that draws your eye to making sure you're clear of it. But then now you're crossing under a pedestrian bridge, and turn three's curbing is tucked behind it. And those are all these blind corners and funnel effects that you see a lot on street courses, similar to Long Beach or Belle Isle, Detroit. And you watch the Indy cars, you watch the sports cars go through those tracks and those sections and how bumpy it is, and yet how they're creating grip and the forward drive. And then the section coming back onto the oval is very similar to Daytona in the section where you turn back onto the turn one oval at Daytona. That leads to the longest straightaway, and you better nail that corner or you're going to pay a big price in your lap time. And then the curbing. The curbing is very violent. You have the red and the white alligator teeth, and then right behind them are the blue turtle shells that are very round and tall. So there's the nice cushion leading up to them, but if you hit them too hard, then you pay a big penalty. So there's speed to be gained until you lose all your speed, and that's the unforgiving nature of street courses.
Bob
Puckers, ESPN. Did you come into this weekend feeling it can be a totally clean weekend for you, or do you come into this weekend knowing that at some point you're going to have some sort of damage?
If I can turn into Spy Hunter and throw out the smoke screen and the oil slick out behind me going into turn one, then we'll be clear for a while. I don't expect a clean weekend. There's going to be something here, something there, and we just have to protect our car on the 41 group because we're in a good spot to transfer to the next round of the playoffs. We're in a great spot right now to cash in on points in stage one, and we just have to continue to roll with anything can happen and be prepared for it and have a game plan. And right now, we did our job today, and I just want to thank Billy Scott for pushing me to find more and to always continue to give feedback. And it's those days like today that really make you think of that teamwork aspect.
All right, Kurt, thanks a lot for your time. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't